my name is Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I have something I'd just like to share with you guys really quickly today. Let's see if this is quick or not. I hear so many people say, I want to share something quickly, and then it turns into like a half an hour chat. But let's see how long this takes. So, in my devotionals recently, I sometimes like to just flick back through my old journals and just see what God has said in the past, what kind of conversations we've had. And I came across this poem that he gave me to write on the 2nd of January this year. So 2nd of January 2021. It says, I am the God of the covenant, a covenant I chose, I initiated, I keep to this day. You are my bride, my Jacob, my Israel, and wherever you wander or stray, I will be with you. I love you with an everlasting love. No matter what you do or how far you run, I will find you and be with you and heal every bruise, every battered heart, every lonely soul. You are never alone. And I just love that. It's really beautiful, really encouraging, and I've just been rereading that one a few times in this past week, and it made me cry. Just to be reminded that God loves us, God loves me, and like it doesn't matter where I go, what I do, whether I'm off track or if I think I'm off track of God's plan, or if I get sidetracked for a while and go into my own thing, or if I'm feeling lonely, or feeling like God's promises haven't come true yet, or anything like that. God's saying, hey, it doesn't matter what you're feeling or where you are or what you've done, I'm going to be there with you always. And God's repeated this heaps of times throughout the Bible. He says that I'll be with you even to the end of the age. So that's Jesus speaking before he's, going back to heaven. And there's just so many other places where God is continually reminding us of his love for us. And like his never failing covenant keeping love. And this covenant is this contract that it says here that he has chosen, he initiated, and he keeps it to this day. And if you were to pick up my journal 1,000 years from now and read this poem, it would still be just as true then as it is today and as it was back in January when I wrote this, because it's everlasting. God's covenant keeping love is everlasting. He doesn't change his mind. He doesn't make a promise or say something and then change his mind halfway through before he gets done with it. Like, he doesn't say, I love you and I'll always love you, and then 50 years later he's like, no, I don't feel like loving you anymore for whatever reason. That's just not who he is. And yeah, this poem starts by saying, it just introduces by saying, I am the God of the covenant, of this contract that I have chosen, I have made, and I keep till this day, whichever day of the week it is that you pick up this poem and you read it. And yeah, that is just so beautiful to me. And I don't know when I underlined this in my Bible, whether it was before or after I wrote this poem, but I'm reading through Genesis at the moment really slowly as I possibly can, to get as much of the juice out of it as I can. And I got up to the part where I'm reading about Jacob at the moment, which, if you're paying attention, you already know that this is relevant. And it says in chapter 28, verse 15, this is when Jacob has stolen his brother's birthright, and he's tricked his family now 2 times, and his brother wants to kill him, and his mum finds out, and he's like, alright, Jacob, your brother wants to kill you, we need to find a way to sneak you out of here. And so mum convinces dad, hey, it's probably best that Jacob goes and finds a wife back from, my homeland. And so Isaac sends him away to go and find himself a wife with Rebecca's family. And so Jacob is now on this journey. He's left his home with Isaac and Rebecca and his brother, and a palm branch just fell down over there. Sorry about that if you heard that. Hopefully one won't land on my head next. Anyway, so he's now on his way to his uncle Laban's house, and somewhere along the way, and we find out later it is Bethel, he has this dream. And it's this dream where he sees this ladder and there's angels going up and down, all the way up to heaven, all the way down to earth. And at the top, above this ladder, is God speaking to him and ratifying the covenant that he made with Abraham and that he's made with Isaac. And now he's saying, Jacob, despite the fact that you've stolen the birthright and stolen, all of the stuff that Esau should have gotten because he's the firstborn, you're technically now the firstborn. You've got the blessings, so we're going to go with that. And God doesn't actually bring up any of that. He's like, okay, cool. He's been the one that's designated as the one with the birthright. Let's work with that now. And he makes this covenant with Jacob, and he's like, all right, I'm speaking to you directly now, and I'm going to let you know that I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to make all these things happen. And let's read what he says. So he says a bunch, and I encourage you to go and read Genesis chapter 28. But in verse 15 it says, behold, I am with you, and I will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. So this is God speaking to Jacob despite what he's done, where he's going. He's literally going back to the land of where his fathers have come from. Which, Abraham told his servant, don't take my son Isaac back there, whatever you do. And yet here we see Jacob is going back there, even though he is now the one who's carrying the blessing and the promise. He is going back to the place where his family came from, which his family were called out of. And so he's now kind of going off track, it seems, because of some decisions he's already made that have led him in this direction where he's now running for his life from his brother, waiting for his brother to cool down. It takes quite a long time for him to come back. I haven't had a close look so far, but we do know that it's at least 14 years because he has to work for his wife Rachel for 7 years, and then there's a bit of a mix-up with Leah, and so he's working for another 7 years. But I'm pretty sure there's actually quite a few more years more that he serves his uncle Laban, and Laban's kind of getting a bit antsy in that situation, but there's a whole other story. So it actually takes decades for Jacob to come back to his family homeland, and so he's gone off track for a very long time. It looks like his whole life trajectory is going in a completely different direction than what God has called him as one of now the patriarchs to be. But God doesn't berate him or say, no, you need to go back there, you need to go and grovel at your brother's feet and say I'm sorry and give the blessing back. I don't know what he could have done or said, but God's like, okay, we're going to work with what we've got here. We're going to show this guy love. He's the one that is now the chosen one, and we're going to bless him, and we're going to be with him wherever he goes, even if it's back in the opposite direction where he's not really supposed to be going. But there is no sense of God saying this is the right direction or this is the wrong direction. It's just that I'm going to be with you wherever you are. I have grace for you, I have love for you, and I have a promise that I've made to your granddad and to your dad and now to you that is going to bless the whole earth through your family. Thousands of years later, we're going to keep working with you, no matter how much you stuff things up. And I find that really, really encouraging, that God is that kind of God, that he doesn't care how much we stuff things up. He's going to work with us. He has grace for us until the day that we die, because that's ultimately when it's over. That's the last chance that we have, is the day that we die. I mean, before the death happens. We always have another chance with God. We always have another opportunity to come back to him and to work with him as he is working with us. And God is just constantly pouring out his love on us. And yeah, I just find that really encouraging, and I just want to encourage any of you guys out there, if you're feeling like you're lost or if you're off track, or if you feel like God's promises aren't coming true and now your life is going in a completely different direction than what you thought it was going to. Like, I've been there. I've kind of am there in a sense. Like, I had all of these ideas of what my life would look like when I first received God's promises over my life. But my life looks nothing the way that I expected it to. I am still waiting many years later on some of these promises, and my life does not look as put together as I imagined it would be many years ago. And so if you're finding yourself in that position right now, know that God is still with you, and He is working with you, and He is making things happen behind the scenes. And maybe there's a reason that you're in this place. Maybe there are lessons that you need to learn. That was a palm branch and it tried to kill me just like I thought it would. Okay, so I think I've made all the points that I need to. I think you get the point. I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye.